Hello everybody and welcome to the Import-Export Hub channel weekly newsreel. Bogdan here, your host for the next couple of minutes. I hope that you are all doing great and without losing too much time with lengthy intros here, let's start with the quiz question for this week, which involves Serbia's exports for 2021. So here we go. Who was Serbia's most important trading partner in terms of exports, as I was saying earlier, for 2021? And options here are Hungary, Germany, or Romania. And the correct answer is Germany with some $3.2 billion worth of exports. And with this precious information that you've been given, guys, I will now move on to the Freightos index, which for week 18, so the 6th of May, to be precise, stood at $8,710. Basically continuing its slide for the 7th or 8th consecutive week in a row. And as I've said it before, I think that there is still a lot of room to fall. If you want, even though the carriers will increase their blank sailings in order to keep the fall a little bit contained. But guys, more on that later in the video. In terms of big movers, we have North Europe to North America sub-index, who was up 20%, while on the other side of the spectrum, we have a 7% drop on the China to North America West Coast sub-index, who was down 7%, as I said earlier. And in terms of the main head hauls, as usual, I will start with the Trans-Pacific ones. And basically, we have $14,226 for the one connecting China to North America West Coast, and $17,070 for the sub-index connecting China to North America East Coast. On the other hand, for the cross-Suez ones, we have $10,565 for the one connecting China to North Europe, and $12,538 for the one connecting China to the Mediterranean. And guys, with the sub-indexes being covered, let's dive into the news here, and I will start with the new acquisitions done by Hapag-Lloyd and Maersk. As you can see here, I will start with Hapag first, as the European Union Commission on Competition approved Hapag-Lloyd's participation in JadeWeserPort from Wilhelmshaven, which was announced back in September 2021. And basically, with this acquisition, Hapag will take ownership of a 30% stake in the container terminal and a 50% stake in the rail terminal, while Eurogate will continue to hold the remaining shares. So guys, if you ask me, it's just a matter of securing a stronghold in North Germany by a German company for the German industry mostly. So don't laugh too much at the Vietnamese stakeholders for wanting to create their own merchant fleet, because I really think that they know what they are doing. But anyways, this is a completely different story, so I will move on to my second one concerning Maersk, the trendsetter, as I like to call it, who recently completed the acquisition of Pilot Freight Services, which is a US-based supply chain provider with cross-border solutions into Canada and Mexico. And personally, I think that with this acquisition, Maersk have secured a stable flow of money in the years to come, as some of the companies in the United States and Canada are already thinking of nearshoring some of the activities done in China and Southeast Asia, meaning that more logistic services will be needed for the cross-border trade between Mexico, the United States, and Canada, especially in the light of the new free trade agreement, NAFTA 2.0. And anyways, as I am always saying, guys, watch the biggest player in the market for what he's doing, try to understand why he's doing it, and if it makes sense, try to follow him, of course, if it suits your organization purposes. So guys, with this news being also covered, I will quickly pass through two stories. The first one coming from splash247.com, and it involves Hapag-Lloyd once again, as it was ordered by the Federal Maritime Commission from the United States to pay some $820,000 as a civil penalty for 14, and I quote here, willful and knowing violations of Section 41102 of the Shipping Act, end of quote. And back in November 2021, the U.S. Federal Maritime Commission issued an order of investigation and hearing to determine whether Hapag was in violation of the Shipping Act by its practice of assessing detention charges when it failed to provide either an equipment return location, either appointments were unavailable for returning during the allocated free time, or I don't know, shipper disputed charges to these issues were not waived. The case involved the dredge company Golden State Logistics, and on December 6th last year, Hapag filed an answer, what else, denying the allegations in the complaint, and basically now Hapag has to pay close to $1 million because they were naughty. So guys, the Federal Maritime Commission findings are starting to pop up like popcorn. This was the first story. The second one comes from maritimeexecutive.com, and this time it involves the Taiwanese shipping company Wanhai, a company which personally I thought it's more flexible and supportive with its customers. But anyways, the idea is that Wanhai agreed to pay an $850,000 civil penalty and remedial actions while not admitting to violations. What else? All this in the context in which the Federal Maritime Commission previously issued multiple communications providing guidance to carriers on detention and demurrage fees. But no one seemed to listen, as they were maybe too busy counting their money. And you can call me whatever you want, but this is not a behavior supportive for long-term business relationships between the carriers and the shippers. And add the new monitoring requirements by the Federal Maritime Commission, which brings me to my next news. Sorry. And I don't know, maybe we have the perfect recipe for possible retaliation coming from the shipping companies. And I don't want to sound too alarming, and I'm not saying that this will be the case, but for sure, the shipping companies don't like when somebody else looks at their alliance and consortia structure more closely, and hopefully without the one-size-fits-all Hirschman-Herfindahl index, which measures the degree of concentration in order to determine the competitiveness of a market. Personally, I think that the shipping industry and its operations need new ways in monitoring and measuring competitiveness if you want. There are a lot of research papers who proposed alternatives, some of them very helpfully, and hopefully the Federal Maritime Commission would have read these research papers, as these vertically and interconnected giants have to be put under more scrutiny. I am heavily biased here, I admit it, but the decades of old practices governing the shipping world have to be updated and brought to the 21st century. And anyways, I'm not going to perorate further on this topic. Now I want you to show you a couple of news coming from containernews.com about how the shipping companies are tackling the congestion in China. And basically we have here some interesting facts coming from seaintelligence.com, which starting from the first week of 2022 calculated the number of planned black sailings in the coming 8 weeks, with some volatile results here, as the carriers are increasing their blanking activity on the Asia-North Europe trade lane. A reason, at least a possible reason, according to Sea Intelligence spokesperson, why the rate level have held up more firmly on Asia-Mediterranean than on Asia-North Europe, if you remember at the beginning of the video. As for the Asia North America West Coast, the same company says that there is a spike in the early part of the year due to the Chinese New Year. But in the last couple of weeks, changes made by the carriers on a weekly basis have remained rather stable. And the same goes for the other trade lanes, so Asia, North America, East Coast, with the only difference here that the spike came a little bit later. So at the moment, guys, all eyes on China to North Europe and Asia to North America West Coast, which brings me to my last news coming from gcaptain.com. As the heat intensifies for the ad-hoc carriers and retail charters active on the Asia to Europe and the Asia to North America trade lanes because of the lockdowns in China. I'm not going to cover the entire article here, but the fact remains that in the coming weeks, the blank sailing activity will increase in order to, of course, better utilize the capacity and somehow contain the spot rates, but also, and this is my personal opinion, to send a signal to those challenging the current status quo of their reign. Because let's face it, guys, they can take the hit while the newcomers are less able to do so if the spread between the contract and spot rates erodes for a couple of weeks. And guys, with this being said, my time is up for today. Thank you all for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed. Don't forget to hit those tiny buttons below this video. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.